Friend. In this episode, I'm continuing my series on how to dress for the various Jungian cognitive functions. Today is Introverted Sensing. I'm Rebecca Mielke, your visual identity consultant, on a journey of self-discovery so you can align your inner and outer self, show up confidently, and contribute your gifts to the world. And I feel super dorky today because my camera that I've been using quit working. And so I'm staring at the back of my phone. So yeah, thank you for hanging in there with me. Before I explain introverted sensing and how you can use it to build your signature style, I want to invite you to take my free style personality quiz. Find the link in the show description or at my website, signaturestylesystems.com. So today we're talking about introverted sensing as a function. So introverted sensing is learning through sensory experience of yourself or others in rumination. It's post-processing. Personality Hacker uses the nickname memory. Introverted sensing is the dominant function for ISTJ and ISFJ, and it's the second function for ESTJ and ESFJ, meaning that for these four types, it should be a major influence on your style. As their third function, it is also influential in the style of INFP and INTP, and may flavor the styles of ENFP and ENTP. Also, introverted sensing always comes paired with extroverted intuition, and I'm going to touch on that in this episode as well. So here are some ways you can use the qualities of introverted sensing in your wardrobe. Introverted sensing generally has a feel or preference for what is timeless. You can choose from current styles that are in more traditional and expected shapes. Choose those that work best for your body. Timeless doesn't mean that you never need to update. So you will need to have a strategy to avoid buying so many clothes that you never wear them out. So you never need anything new and you end up stuck in a particular decade. Anything unexpected is going to be a very dramatic look on you, which if that's what you need, that's what you're going for, that's great. Just know that. So introverted sensing is also attuned to sensory information. So I think in this case, fit and fabrics are also going to be important, and especially functionality. Anything that takes extra work for it to function is probably just going to be annoying. Introverted sensing also tends to notice and enjoy comfort. And I believe comfortable clothes are a basic human right. Introverted sensing looks can be nostalgic. It can be fun to play around with nostalgic, vintage, or retro looks, but don't let sentimentality keep you from passing things on when the time is right, or taking them to a sewist who can transform it into something that you will actually use. And finally, introverted sensing does really well with the uniform, and it's generally tidy. Now, let me explain what I mean. Those probably are two separate ideas. It's generally tidy looking, and also it does well with a uniform. And what I mean by a uniform is not necessarily like a policeman uniform or something like that. I'm talking about like an outfit template that's sort of a uniform template. So let me give you an example. So introverted sensing was the hero's dominant process, and he worked in architecture and had a slowly evolving uniform for work. So when he started, he wore twill pants. Back then they were called dockers, and a button-down shirt, meaning it had a button-down collar, not that it buttoned down the front, but it was also that, and a tie. So then he went next, he went to an office where ties were not required, but the rest of the uniform remained the same. So he's just wearing khakis or, twill pants of another color, and either a dress shirt with a button-down collar or a more casual shirt, but still in the same kind of fabric. So it might have a print or a check or something with a button-down collar. And he really liked button-down collars, I think, because they were tidy. So anyway, for a season, there were times on casual Fridays when he, instead of wearing a t-shirt, he and a couple of his friends wore African shirts. And that was fun. And this exotic look worked on him because he had extroverted intuition, even though it was, the fourth function, so less of an influence on his style. He had an extroverted intuition, which is all about combining concepts. So that's why something that was not from his heritage worked on him. Eventually, he discovered that he looked dressy enough for work in a nice solid color t-shirt, and he took to wearing that with his twill pants. And then during COVID, he had just multiples of the same charcoal gray t-shirt, and he just wore those mostly with workout shorts. And then when he had to start going back into the office, he just wore them with his twill pants again. So my formula for signature style, I talked about this last week, includes the first four functions. So your first function is the part you most identify with. So if you are ISTJ or ISFJ, what I described when I described the ways that you could use introverted sensing in your style, it's most likely already a major component of how you dress. So your second or co-pilot function is a really important strength that many people fail to communicate visually. If you are ESTJ or ESFJ, you should lean into your introverted sensing style to communicate visually who you really are. And your third function is a place of playfulness. So if you are INFP or INTP, you can add introverted sensing flair to your everyday signature style. Or you can have a separate introverted sensing look for fun times. I know people of this type who have a lot of fun going thrifting and then playing dress up. And your fourth function is a position of aspiration. So ENFPs and ENTPs don't need to look traditional at all, but tidiness is a good goal. Do you know your type and your functions? The thing about Myers-Briggs, and I said this last week, it points to cognitive functions a layer deeper than just the dichotomies being introvert versus extrovert and so on. Next week, Lord willing, I'm going to start talking about extroverted thinking and the thinking processes. So here's your homework. Go through your closet and just consider getting rid of anything that's over 5 years old. And yeah, if it's like designer, classic, or whatever, then do it. Or if it's vintage, do it. But if it's just something you had in high school and it hasn't worn out yet and it looks dated, get rid of it. Thanks so much for being here for Signature Style Systems, and I will meet you back here again real soon.